It's been kind of a reoccurring thing over the past couple of weeks to try and act as if Metroid is some irrelevant IP. A lot of people have tried to take advantage of the situation in Metroid Prime 4 not doing as well as Metroid Dread, as like trying to fabricate this weird conspiracy that Metroid is a dead IP and that Nintendo doesn't care about it and that Samus is an irrelevant game character. Because I've seen a lot of statements from the industry trying to tell you that like Lara Croft is the most popular female video game character ever and Aloy is way more popular and recognizable than Samus. It didn't happen. This really does need to be said at this point that Samus has been relevant for 40 years. She's still instantly recognizable. She's in Super Smash Bros. Like sales numbers don't correlate to actual recognition and popularity. Samus is significantly more popular than Lara Croft. The issue is that like Samus does not and never has shown off ass and titties for marketing reasons. Gabe Newell's given statements about this, where the marketing for Tomb Raider vastly misrepresents the game and kind of sells it to an audience that really doesn't know anything about the franchise or the character at all. Lara herself is recognizable because of the sex appeal, but as an actual video game character, as an actual icon of the industry, like, nobody knows anything about her at all, as opposed to Samus where, things like, the ending to Super, like her design, like her background, her history in the gaming industry, like all of that's pretty much a industry staple, okay? Gaming's first lady, like you're really gonna tell me that she's gonna be eclipsed by like some basic Hollywood bitch with a bow? Like, come on. You might as well argue that like that Master Chief is bigger than Mario, right? And it does kind of have the same kind of energy to it, where it feels like the game journalists want this to be true. They want Samus to like make way for more like westernized characters, ones that that fit the more traditionally girl boss archetype, because Samus kind of has a lot of problems in that regard because of her being rather motherly and caring about other people to being submissive to male authority figures. Like that's something that a lot of people have a lot of issues with. It really does go against like the traditional feminine like girl boss agenda. This idea that like Samus is like, oh, she doesn't take orders from it. Like that is not and never has been a thing. Okay, and game journals hate it. It's not something that's really come out in the open yet because this hasn't been something that's been addressed in recent years, and it is very much a characteristic of the character that maybe walked back. But at this stage, the industry really desperately wants to kind of fabricate this narrative that like Samus Aran is a nothing burger of a character. She doesn't exist because she kind of flies in the face of the narrative, right? The idea that having a female lead in gaming was somehow like trendy or forward thinking in '96 when Nintendo already did it in '86. Like again, it's very interesting. It's kind of like the Ultima thing, actually, where they try and tell you that, like, yeah, Ultima is what innovated the JRPGs, but, like, the JRPGs are what, like, innovated and pushed it forward. Like, yeah, games like Metroid existed before Tomb Raider, and they evolved past Tomb Raider, while Tomb Raider stayed, like, relatively the same. Tomb Raider did not evolve past its initial bullshit concept of like a girl wearing revealing clothing, going on Indiana Jones adventures. Like Metroid in comparison was way more innovative. It evolved more. It did a lot more with the concept, and it kept growing and evolving to the point where it's like completely unrecognizable today. And in a good way, by the way. Tomb Raider is just like, it's constantly going through these controversies of like the creators trying to gaslight you into thinking she's a lesbian, and like you get like all this going on and all these scenarios and all these issues and all these problems, and it really does need to be spelled out for everyone just how insane all of this actually is. Because Lara Croft is not really a video game icon. Lara Croft is a nobody. Aloy is a nobody. The Ghost of Your Toy is a nobody. Like, nobody even knows her name. And yet, like, Metroid Prime 4 gets a lot of hype and attention by simply showing off a logo. You know, Samus is far more beloved and recognizable than any of these basic bitch like protagonists from any other like video game franchise. And yet, for some reason, we have to go through this like these motions of pretending as if like she's like an irrelevant side character because the games themselves are kind of niche. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, oh yeah, like this sexualized female lead is pulling way bigger numbers than Samus. Like, yeah, because of the extent you put into the sexualized marketing instead of actually producing a good video game that people want to play, you know? Like, that's the great irony of Samus in that regard, in which she exists, but she is not seen. You know, in Metroid Prime, you don't even really see her face, really. Like, maybe, like, the image of it during an explosion, but, like, it is very, very uncommon to see that Samus is a woman in these games. And that's the great irony of it. Like, a lot of people who play these games probably don't even realize Samus is a woman, you know? Like, it's just one of those things that, like, everyone's surprised by and taken off guard by. And that's what makes her such an iconic female lead. You know, everyone has that experience where they realize Samus is a girl for the first time. And the fact that it still gets people even today kind of demonstrates why this has been such a weird, like, issue and why so many people are unwilling to acknowledge this is that Samus doesn't emphasize being a girl. Like, she just is. You know, she kind of stands on her own merits and kind of demonstrates what a good video game character in general should be. You know, they don't market her as being a girl, you know? Like, oh, she's not like those other male video game leads. Like, that's not a thing. You know, Samus is just allowed to be the protagonist of her own video game series and is allowed to excel in her craft, you know, in what she does, and she does it very well. It's not like it is with these woke Western titles, you know. Titles like, Overwatch, which, like, plaster Tracer on the cover and then, like, retcon her into being a lesbian in, like, the English localization. Blizzard is controlled by China, so the Chinese version where she's straight is the canon one. So, like, they try and pass off Tracer as being a lesbian to try and, like, gaslight people into thinking that, like, oh, yeah, she's the first lesbian character on a game cover ever. Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. And that should be our mindset when we go into this. Like, when we look at, like, you know, Jeff Keighley trying to tell you that, like, Lara Croft is the most popular female video game character. Like, who do people recognize? Who do people, like, sell to you as, like, the all-time goated female lead? Who's been getting, like, 40 years of, like, high-quality content? Who's in Smash Bros? You know, like, it's Samus. Like, Lara just can't compete. You know, it's like a Chad versus Virgin meme, but for girls. Samus is so far beyond Tomb Raider, so far behind Lara Croft, that it's really, truly, genuinely not even funny.